Marine Reacts to the Alpha Legion by Baldermort's Guide to Warhammer. As always, I'm going to be leaving a link to the original video channel down in the description below, so go ahead and make sure that you check them out. So, only thing I know about the Alpha Legion is that they were one of the traitor legions, and they were supposedly, from what I've been hearing from people in the comments, that they were actually considered the first legion, and not the Dark Angels. But besides that, I don't really know too much more. So let's go ahead and get to the actual video. But before we do, don't forget to like, subscribe. It really does help me out a lot. Hit that notification bell right there, so you get notified every time I do upload. Sometimes I'm uploading twice a day. Now I'm working on them whenever I can and releasing them at some point the next day. That way, you at least have one video every day to enjoy at your leisure. So without further ado, let's go ahead and see what the Alpha Legion is all about.
A promotion, they called it. I leapt at the chance. As an arbiter of a long and distinguished career, I can tell you one thing. It's not all it's cracked up to be. I leapt at the chance for a change. The thing with this job is that it so often involves wiping mutant off your boots. I despise them. The regular journeys into the underhive to cull them, my old gaffer used to say. The hive is like a house, my lad, and the underhive is the sewer. If you don't flush it out regularly, the feces start to run in the streets. But I won't miss it. I never took pleasure in the pyres we made of their burnt bodies, the culls. In my mind, the most disgusting thing about mutants is their need to try to gain mercy by sounding like us. I know it's all mimicry. Like an animal that seems to call your name in the dark, only to pounce on you when you wander away from the campsite. They insist on trying to sound like humans when they are screaming, when they are wailing for pity and clemency. But it's all an act, and I won't miss it at all. Well, what a fool. They handed me a midden sandwich, all right. Transferred to internal affairs for exemplary service and conduct. But it was a setup. It reminds me of the joke you only hear in this department. How do you kill 99 officials with one club and without breaking a sweat? Push 100 of them into a room, hand them the single club, and inform them one of them is Alpha Legion, and they cannot come out until they find out who. It's not funny. It was never funny. It's a living hell. When the first one turned up with that nasty little tattoo, their three-headed snake or hydra, whatever they call it, it was just the beginning. We find them everywhere now. At the sites of explosions, at the scene of executions. They never run. They just stand there with their hands on their heads and a glazed expression, with just a hint of a crooked smirk on their faces. Like they know they are going to be tortured to death, but have somehow won. I hate it, and I hate them. But there is one thing I hate more than anything else. It is filling in the damn charts. There's a chart, a sheet for bloody everything in this role.
Okay, I may have misinterpreted that one part where he said about the, like, to see who is the alpha, right? And that they would have 100 people. I think he said 100 people or 99, or they wanted to know from those 100 people which one was the alpha, right? And that in order to do this, I mean, it sounded like he was talking to someone else, or it seemed like it was talking in the form of that's kind of maybe what the recruitment process was like. I could be completely wrong. It's kind of hard to understand it from this one, just because, don't get me wrong, I love his voice, but sometimes it is a little difficult to understand. But I still love the way he presents a lot of the information. He really puts a lot of hype between each one, and makes you have, like, every single video I've seen from him continuously makes me think, like, okay, now this is my favorite one. No, now this is my favorite one, type deal.
Everything. So I fill in yet another chart, another form, another waste of my time. The last words chart. Why do we even bother? None of them make any sense. Before they are executed, a strange and arcane ritual is enacted. The executioner will ask them if they have any last words. Gibberish is what then occurs.
Never mind, it sounds like that's kind of what they did with someone who was the enemy. Get them to kill each other and then execute the last one. That's what it's starting to seem like. So I just went off in a big tangent on that first little part, and I was just completely wrong.
They say practically the same phrase each time, with only one difference. It starts, I am Alfarius, whoever that is. And then they end with, the Hydra awakes. But there is always a word, just one, that is snuggled between the two statements. Rubbish. So it goes like this. I am Alfarius. You, the Hydra awakes. So I have to put all of these last words into the cogitator. I should be out hunting them, trying to predict their pattern. But no, I am doing this admin work. I fill in entry after entry, line after identical line, one by one on this huge sheet. It takes hours. But then, something happens. I start to notice a pattern. At last. Something to go on. Their Achilles heel, maybe. When put in order of execution, it makes no sense at all. But when you rearrange into date of arrest, it becomes clear. I ignore the prologue and epilogue entries of I am Alfarius and the Hydra awakes, and a sentence begins to form from all of those random words. I enter the last details. Then it becomes clear. You are asleep. But you must do as instructed. Destroy the Arbites' main center. The Hydra awakes.
Alright, so I've heard the Arbites word thrown around a lot in the comments. Or like as far as checking out the video on it, I still don't know what it is. I mean, obviously just because I'm going through Space Marine chapters first. And also, by the way, I mean, as you can see with this video, I'm going through the Trader Legions. And it seems like he was talking in the form of the Inquisition. Because of the symbol here. I thought he was talking in the form of a not Dark Angel. I thought he was talking in the form of a Alpha Legion person.
A pain appears behind my eyes for a second, then clears as swiftly as it arrived. I look at my reflection in the cogitator screen. I know what I must do. I press the delete button, wiping the records permanently. I stand.
I also just realized that the person who was getting executed was an Alpha Legionnaire. At least I would assume so.
And I leave my office. I lock the door. I walk with a spring in my step down the many flights of stairs to the power station at the base of the building. I walk inside and nod to the tech priest there, before I pass his bemused glare and stare at the power core. I draw my pistol quietly and then turn and execute the priest. A single shot to the head. I then walk to the controls. I begin the process of overloading it. I had no idea I was so gifted with this sort of thing. I stand back and admire my handiworks as I hear the plant begin to shudder, slowly rising to the moment it will explode and envelop this entire block in radioactive fire. I walk to another panel and tap in my last words. Strange. I'm elated at their writing. I feel such a sense of calm and achievement. I send a single message to the spaceport officials. I am Alfarius. You, the Hydra awakes. Welcome, gentle listener. I am Baldermort, and I wish to introduce you to the factions of...
Okay, before he goes any further, I just want to make sure, in that opening sequence, I know he likes to begin with the story. I just want to make sure, at least for my own knowing, he's talking about the Inquisition interrogating, or I guess like, well, yeah, I mean, yeah, interrogating somebody from the Alpha Legion, or just someone in general. Because then he said that they usually say at the end that they're Alpha Arius, which obviously Alpha Legion sounds really similar, and then yeah, so okay, that's what I'm assuming that has happened, and I was gonna get into the actual lore of the actual Alpha Legion. Okay, Correct me if I'm wrong though, because otherwise that first part is gonna sound way off and just way out of context, and it's gonna make me sound very dumb, in a sense. But let's keep going.
Some forces of the Warhammer 40K universe. Today, we will be attempting to understand possibly one of the most complicated and inscrutable factions in the entire grim darkness of the future. For today, we will attempt to wrestle with the very basics of the Alpha Legion. I must state straight off the bat that this is possibly one of the most difficult subjects I have ever had to present, and so I am insistent that this should be a brief introduction, as these matters have been dealt with on the channel previously, as I must be honest and state that my opinion, perspective, my approach to this faction have altered so many times that I am unable to be certain of anything being correct. All we can do is try to discern the very basics, and then to move on to the many, many nuances of this faction at an...
So it seems like a lot of this is going to be based in theory then? That's what it seems like he's saying.
Another time. Hopefully, by that time, I will have a more solid and static position on them. But that is the wonder of Warhammer. The juice that fills the glass. The thing that keeps fans coming back time and time again. Its complexity, its depth. And I will apologize now, for many a gentle listener may not like this unorthodox entry as it goes on, as it will be so eclectic. But just know that this is by design. So let us move on to the basics, and see where the trail takes us. But just know that I honestly do not have an absolute view of where the destination actually is. The Alpha Legion, a riddle wrapped in a mystery inside an enigma. None can truly know their motivations. None can guess their insidious motives. But that is the key word here, insidious. Insidious, meaning proceeding in a gradual, subtle way, with very harmful effects. They represent a darkness that few truly grasp. Even I am not sure I am capable of doing so with the details we have at hand, gentle listener. But there is one truth about them. Everything is a lie, and everything is true. For the greatest lies always have the kernel of truth at their center, and when it comes to lying, the Alpha Legion are second to none. But let us start with what is actually known. The Primarks of the Alpha Legion, those demigods who were forged by the Emperor of Mankind to lead his armies across the galaxy in the Great Crusade, were all made, designed, birthed for a reason. Each had their strength that none other possessed. In many it was blatant, and their primary attribute was not only their defining one, but it was their entire goal, their modus operandi, their raison d'etre, their very purpose. Like a pantheon of gods, the Primarks would display their powers for all to see, and their legions, the Astartes, or Space Marines, that made up their legions were all taken from their template. For example, Leman Russ is quite easily comparable with the god Thor, a bluff braggart, but an honourable soul, and warrior without peer, who always would stand against tyranny and evil where it threatened the halls of his people. Such are his legion, the Space Wolves.
I just realized why they say, or they said the line about the Hydra, because that's their symbol.
Loud and aggressive, feral and fierce, but they are also unflinching in their loyalty to the Emperor and his Imperium. If the Primarks are indeed a pantheon, then the Alpha Legion were led by Loki, the Norse trickster god. Always plotting, planning, always active. Some say that Loki was an evil Satan-type figure, but, in my humble opinion, he was not. He was a cautionary tale. The similarities are endless. In many retellings of the fables of the gods, the Aesir, Loki was a young god and hot to impress and to insist. He was also active and always fought the enemies of the gods with his most pronounced attributes. His mind, his cunning. He would outthink, not outfight, his opponents, and save the realm eternal on many an occasion. But he was not the brute strength of Thor, nor the noble endurance of Balder, nor the indefatigable force of justice of Tyr. Hence, no matter the result of his activity, he was always sneered at and derided by the more brutish gods, as they always concentrated on slighting his methods, never seeing their results.
It's really seeming like these guys are the more tacticians, and think about it, it's either always brains or bronze. But sometimes, you get that one person There's both brains and bronze. But now imagine if you had an entire legion like that. It could be very deadly.
Were the times that Loki was ever given his due. And so it is with the Primarks of the Alpha Legion. Yes, you heard me right. Primarks. Plural. For of all of the sons of the Emperor, only the Alpha Legion had twins at their helm. It was said that they were the one soul in two bodies. They were called Alpharius and Omegon. They were one. Where Alpharius was the name most new, as this was the persona that had been designed or designated as the public face of the Legion. It could never be discerned if one spoke to Alpharius or to Omegon. Never. The myths about Alpharius Omegon are so many that it is impossible for me, at this point, to actually be clear. Some say he was captured by the Slord, abused, broken, and then found by the Emperor, who then tried to put him back together. Some say he was found at the head of an interstellar empire that was a thorn in the side of the War Master, Horus Lupercal himself, and that one of them boarded his vessel as an assassin to decapitate him and end the Crusades' onward rush into the empire that Alpharius and Omegon believed was their own. Some say that he was always on Earth, and that the Emperor, for his own reasons, kept these sons hidden and trained them personally for many years, even before the discovery of Horus Lupercal. Officially,
I mean, what if a lot of these myths, and the reason that they don't know a whole lot about them, or like the fact that there's so many things that apparently get told, but like a lot of it doesn't seem like it's confirmed. What if they were just spread by them, like by the brother Primarks? Which, by the way, I never even really thought of if some of them could have been twins. But in any case, I'm assuming that it was done to some goal or some aspect that they're actually trying to achieve, and that that's why this happened. As far as the myths go, and like they're not really having like concrete, I guess, evidence, if you want to call it that.
The first Primarch to be reunited with the Emperor and his crusade. Some say that he is actually the unseen hand of the Emperor and plays a game on his behalf, though none of his siblings would or could perform or allow. But this is all propaganda, possibly with a gem of truth hidden in each of the lies, but they are, if taken as a totality, lies, dissembling, propagated, and spread by the Lords of Confusion, the Primarchs of the Alpha Legion. For to know the genesis of a thing often means understanding it, something that they never wanted any to be able to do. Understand them. For the Alpha Legion are the experts in espionage that put even the Raven Guard to shame. Where other legions would display their prowess on the battlefield, the Alpha Legion fought entirely differently. No slouches on the battlefield either, but it was not their purlieu. Here, in the pantheon of the gods were the Primarchs. It was Alpharius' tactics and his methods that were also derided and slurred, no matter the results, as with my analogy of Loki. His clashes with many notables are well documented. I can still not make a clear picture of it. I know that many come to this site for a slightly off-the-wall perspective that may deviate from the standard relaying by more competent and experienced lore peddlers, but in this regard, I must admit, they have me foxed. But the tale of Loki I find appropriate, at the time of the writing of this tract at least, as it was the constant derision of his methods, never giving him his due, that led to Loki taking the path of evil and antagonism to his fellow gods. Basically, if you are lied about endlessly, you start to wear the mantle provided you. Thus does it also appear to be with Alpharius and Omegon. Let us be direct. Even Conrad Kurz, the Primarch of the Night Lords, the purveyors of terror themselves, even he called out the tactics of the Alpha Legion. Even the Night Haunter stated that there was something twisted about this legion and its two young Primarchs. I will not even brook now the reaction he gained from Rogel, or from Reboot, who practically bayed for his blood at many a point in the Great Crusade, but ever did the Odin of the Pantheon, the Emperor, ignore and suppress their contentions. Alpharius, Omegon, and their legion were left to their own devices more and more as time went by. And perhaps this is why they trod the path that they did, that they were found last, that they were literally decades behind their siblings in time to accrue glory and accomplishments may have been a huge impact. for it is said that they initially went out of their way to try to move faster and more effectively than any other legion in an attempt to make up for the lost time. But it was not to be. Their efforts, no matter the results, were always derided. At this point, it would be utterly logical for any person, especially a sibling deemed to be the junior, to simply up sticks and refuse to play by the rules that were so heavily stacked against them.
So I don't remember if this is the Legion that people have been telling me that it wasn't them who necessarily betrayed the Emperor and everybody, but that they were actually the ones betrayed, or like they were just completely looked down upon at every turn just because they didn't act in the same manner as far as like tactic wise, for example. I don't know if it was him or it may have been the Thousand Sons or Second Sons. I think it's called Thousand Sons. The one with a bunch of people with the psychic abilities. I don't remember if it was them or the Alpha Legion that people have been telling me that they were the ones who were actually betrayed, and that was kind of why the whole traitor aspect ended up happening. Because if you're consistently doing a bunch of great things, I guess for the Empire and the Imperium, and you just kind of get shit on, which is kind of seeming what it seems like right now. You know, you start exuding a little bit of resentment, and then obviously that keeps building. I hope I said that word right. Yeah, or like you just start getting pissed off, right? Like all your work is going unnoticed and just unappreciated. If I'm correct.
In many a recounting, the twins spent blessed little time with the Emperor, their father. Perhaps he had seen them as the completion of his armies and took them for granted. Perhaps he was simply bored of the lines and training he would have to give any Primark when he had done so 19 times before. It is said in some tales that he formed a better bond with his oldest sibling, the first found, Horus Lupercal, the War Master. It is seen that this lack of time with the Emperor, why they were viewed as so easily turned to the side of Horus when he fell to darkness and then rebelled and set in motion the conflagration of the Horus heresy. But they did not really spend that much time with Horus either, so there are holes in this argument. Also, there are details that are known only to them. On a solitary world in their path, one of the twins, it is said to be Alfarius, was secretly met by a representative of a group of Xenos, aliens, calling themselves the Cabal. In this meeting, a perpetual called John Grammaticus acted on the behalf of the Cabal as mediator and attempted conversion of the Primarch. Grammaticus stated the Cabal were ancient and powerful and had been working against Chaos for millennia. Of course, on the understanding, gentle listener, that at the point of the meeting, there was no general knowledge of the forces of Chaos or their dark gods. Not even the Primarks knew about them. The Emperor kept this from them all, for reasons we may never know.
The reasons, at least, what I think, and from what I have heard, was that was due so that if nobody knew about the Chaos Gods, that it was supposed to, in a way, detract some of their power. But then obviously that ended up failing either way because it still ended up having people turn traitor. But that's from what I remember.
Atticus went on to tell Alfarius that the Cabal had scried only two possible outcomes to the mighty events that were about to unfold. He was informed that Horus would fall to Chaos, and then he would openly rebel against his father, the Emperor. The two possible future pathways were these. 1. If the Emperor was victorious, then it would break the back of the Imperium and everything it presently professed to represent. The forces of Chaos would grow over time and eventually consume the galaxy. Humanity would be its food for all eternity, and all would be brought down with them. And then 2. If the Emperor were defeated, then Horus would rule the galaxy, but his regret, his conscience, would slowly resurface, and that he would end in despising himself and the Lords of Chaos. He would then engage in wars that would end in wiping out humanity, but that would result in the Chaos Gods being defeated, and the galaxy would then go into a golden age and return to what it was always supposed to have been, before it was twisted. Alfarius Omegon were there.
Wait, so if Horus ended up... Okay, I don't know if Horus knew about this or that this would happen or that this would even happen if things went the way they say it was going to happen. But if Horus knew this, so then it seems like he was doing this under the pretense that he was doing good. He was doing something good, or he was doing what was necessary. And they said that his conscience or his like regret would start coming back, eventually again going against the Chaos Gods, and then eventually killing them. And then I'm assuming that's why when they saw this, the Alpha Legion, the two twins, that's why they ended up turning traitor, because they probably saw this also as probably the only chance that humanity had. And it's just one of those where it was like they had to be the villain. I mean, obviously this is just a lot of speculation on my end, but I mean, it seems like it would make sense to me, at least.
Then asked to make a choice: to assist the Emperor and end the universe in chaos, or to join Horus with the goal of sacrificing the human race to defeat the Chaos Gods for all time. Not much of a choice, one might think. It is this event that has been used to attempt to define the Alpha Legion.
Also, real quick, even if they destroyed the Chaos Gods, would they or new gods be able to come up? Because, I mean, there's always going to be a chance of war. There's going to be people, as far as like the emotion aspect, a lot of things that are happening, like even change and all that. Like, I mean, either the Chaos Gods being reborn or just other gods are going to start appearing, you know?
For they did go over to Horus, and during the Battle of Istvan V, they turned the colour of their cloth and assisted in the slaughter of a full 3 legions of loyalists. Almost to a man. Almost. Surely this points to them taking the path provided by the Cabal. But is it so? Because for this reason Alpharius drew Rogel Dawn into a confrontation that ended in his own death. Rogel slew him. Or did he? Was that actually Alpharius or Omegon? Or simply an incredibly well-trained and performing legionary who had they groomed to be the sacrifice that all believed? Impossible to tell. Alpharius and Omegon are said in some tales to be the smallest of the Primarks and actually able to move amongst their men with total anonymity. Other reports state that they were towering warriors of golden skin and unsurpassed martial ability. Which are right. Everything is true, and everything is a lie. For there are so many details about them, and yet so few. They claim to serve Chaos Undivided, but do not show signs of mutation and the blessings from the Dark Gods. They did not retreat into the Eye of Terror as their brothers did when Horus lost at the Battle of Terror, and the traitor legions were then chased to the Eye by the remaining loyalist legions and their Primarks. The Alpha Legion simply disappeared, and they have been in hiding ever since. Hiding amongst the normal citizenry of the Imperium, even among the forces of the Space Marines. They are considered to be everywhere and nowhere, all at the same time. Yet they still seem to strike for the forces of chaos. Yet they have been recorded to have performed atrocities that would make a World Eater or a Night Lord balk. But in the rare times they reveal themselves for open combat, they have been heard to scream old war cries like, "For the Emperor." Is this sarcasm? Or is it truth? Are they following Chaos, or tricking them too? Are they the deepest cover operatives that ever existed in the history of the galaxy?
I was thinking that too, being like essentially double agent, right? Or the fact that these are the perfect example of people who like to work behind the scenes. They're very secretive, very, like, you never know what they're going to do. You don't know what they're up to. And it's just continually keeping everybody guessing. Because if you don't know anything about them, how could you fight them? If everything is supposed to be true and false, how could you even know how to fight them again? But the fact that they would still be on the chaos side of things, but the fact that they'll still say things like, "For the Emperor," is this them just spreading this information just to create some kind of mass confusion? Maybe they're just going after something themselves specifically. Maybe they're playing the villain role so that for the greater good, for some reason or another. And I don't know, this is just so many things that could be going on, and no idea if any of it could ever be true, because I feel like that's just the way they're written, and just the way Baldermort has been saying it as well. Everything true, everything false. We don't know. At least I don't know.
A mask of obedience to the Chaos Guards for over 10,000 years, whilst always remaining loyal in their hearts. The sabotage and deep cover operatives are one of the greatest threats to the Imperium. I know.
Also, real quick, since they did say that they're really, they're shorter of the Primarks, and that they can actually walk around their guys and be kind of indistinguishable, is it possible that maybe they took, and this is my own little theory, that they took out some of the, maybe say, current space chapter Marines, like for example, let's say an Imperial Fist, right, or Black Templar or Salamanders, whoever, right, and they took their armor and the fact that they can blend in, at least height wise, take the armor and then walk amongst other chapters currently, and that they do that in multiple different chapters, so that way they can gain more information. Because that seems to be their real MO here, just getting information. I don't know, man. I just kind of thought of that right now too. So I feel like that's very possible. Just a theory, though. I don't have any proof at all.
Oh, I say that a lot, but each time it's true. That's why it's called the Grimdark. The Hydra, the many-headed beast, the tick in the ear, the whisper in the back of the mind, is their greatest weapon. Distrust. For most believe that the Imperium is...
Damn, also real quick, that part about the Hydra having many heads, right? Many different chapters, right? Many different opportunities for them to blend in, right? And not only them, maybe even their own guys that still follow them, have them blend in with their chapters, kind of report back what's going on. All this espionage and like this type of shit, it's tripping me out, man.
Rife with distrust and paranoia, but this is clearly not the case, no matter what people may feel. The reality is that the Navy is expected to carry the forces of the Imperium to its destinations and protect from raiders and pirates. All worlds are expected to pay their tithes. All chapters of Astartes are expected to respond to the klaxon calls for assistance. The Ministorum are expected to exalt the Emperor, and its people are expected to toil for the Imperium's very survival. But when these expectations are not met, anarchy occurs. An anarchy that is always abused and used by the Alpha Legion to then perform whatever tasks, secure whatever objectives or resources they require to further their insidious machinations. And, as per the joke we heard earlier, they are now at a stage that their name alone, the one planted operative designed to be found, can then tear apart these conventions of cooperation, as entire swathes of the imperial bureaucracy and military then attempt to find these snakes in the grass by purging what may not even be there, but purging nonetheless. They were ever a strange and undeniably powerful legion. Their cohesion and organization, loyalty and unquestioning ability to work together to a single goal on the battlefield was unmatched. Even the Grand Organizer and his Ultramarines were not the equal in their ability to organize a strike of 1,000,000 elements. Their discipline is also a thing to be marveled at. Truly marveled. Why? Any other Astartes will give their life for their lords without a second thought. But will they give up themselves? Doubtable. But what do I mean? The Alpha Legion are so disciplined, so cunning, so dauntless in their devotion to their cause, that they regularly and frequently have their minds, their very personalities, and everything that makes a person who they are, wiped. This allows them to be true deep cover operatives, as there is simply not the information in their minds and souls to be divulged. But imagine the commitment to cause, to willingly have this performed, to effectively be ended again and again and again, and know that no matter how successful or how impressive your deeds, you will not remember a single one of them at the end of the course of your life. Now that is a level of conviction that should make others quake. When one of them is captured and states very simply, "I am Alfarius," it may not actually be a ruse to them. They may...
That connects the beginning part now, In the beginning when he said that I am Alpharius, that's typically what they say. That's because the dude's mind is already wiped, and oh god, I'm getting a little giddy now. So okay, that makes it perfect then, because if they do get captured, they can be interrogated all they want, but they can't really say anything because they don't even know. Dude, the amount of insanity. You know what? Let's just keep going.
I actually believe that. The perfect traitor is the one who does not know they are a traitor in their heart, as is oft said. It is these sleeper units that can be everywhere or nowhere. But it also means something else, something strange. It means that there is actually no certainty at all. The legionaries of the Alpha are actually working for the same goal that they started with all of those years ago. How would it be possible for them to even tell? Any Marine, any official, any officer, any man, woman or child that is encountered in the grim darkness of the future could be a sleeper unit of the Alpha Legion and never even know it until they are activated. And even then, they may not know it themselves, despite carrying out the nefarious actions of these busy bees. For that is one thing above all that must be acknowledged by all fans of this glorious setting. The Alpha Legion are the hardest workers in the entirety of the human race, for they are never at rest, never still, always plotting and scheming towards an end even they may not fully know themselves, but always busy little bees.
So even if they don't know all of this stuff and that they're just mind wiping them again and again and again, I would assume that someone has to know what the end goal is, and I would assume it's going to be the 2 Primarks. And that, I feel, as far as like theory-wise again, that they're not even working for Chaos, and they might be working for the Emperor, possibly, but not directly for the Emperor, if that makes sense. So they're trying to help the Imperium of Mad, but they're doing it in their own way. Whatever way that is, I have no idea. And that's just a guess, though. Very probably a loose theory, but just something I just thought of.
The World Eaters may exemplify worshippers of the blood god Khorne. The Emperor's children may do so for the Prince of Pleasure, Slaanesh. The Death Guard are ardent in their love of the grandfather, Nurgle, and the Thousand Sons show unflinching devotion to the Lord of Change, Tzeentch. The Iron Warriors may hate chaos, while still serving it. The Black Legion may profess independence, while fighting for it. The Night Lords may sow misery in its name, and the Word Bearers believe they are its greatest servants. But it is the Alpha Legion who are chaos. If actions speak louder than words, then they are merely a louder form of communication. But who are the Alpha Legion talking to? Because, in my mind, as things stand right now, the three-headed snake, the Hydra, may well represent the truth of the matter. Some have said that this represents that there were actually triplets, not twins. But I do not see this. They are the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end. With the Lion, L. Johnson was the template, the start of the journey. Alpharis and Omegon are its conclusion, its end. Does the three-headed Hydra symbol reveal something nobody even wishes to consider? The existence of a third path, which the Alpha Legion tread alone. One path is loyalty to the throne and the Emperor of mankind. One path is the way of chaos and serving the dark gods. Perhaps, just perhaps, they serve neither.
I mean, the way I said it just a few seconds ago was kind of somewhat similar, but I mean, one end I did put it as that they were still trying to help the Imperium Man, but just in their own way, not really following the rules of either or. So maybe they're not helping the Imperium Man, but they just want to do things their own way for whatever reason that may be. It really gives a three-headed Hydra more symbolic meaning. And as far as them being the chaos, that's kind of what it is, because at chaos, you don't know what the hell's going on. Everything is chaotic, right? Now, as far as when they said beforehand that the other Primarks' chapters and all that they didn't feel right about these guys specifically, I wonder if the ones that turn traitor or corrupted by chaos, do they still feel the same way about them? Has their opinion or kind of views on them changed, or is it still the same?
But what does this mean? What do they want? Godhood for themselves? The destruction of the universe? Or maybe something else? Only time will tell. But when they do achieve their goals, was Alpharius or Omegon, or both, or neither, at the wheel, would anyone even know?
Alright, let's go ahead and talk about that for a minute. Not too long. Really glad that I got a lot of it out during the video, because there was a lot of twists and turns with this one. I mean, this is one of those where you're just not gonna... I mean, I thought the Legion of the Damned was confusing. Now, these guys, the whole everything's true, everything's false about them. You're never gonna really know unless they want you to know. And the whole thing that there's no really way to find them unless they want you to find them. And the fact that they were twins really threw me off, just because I didn't even know that that was kind of an option or possible. But the fact that every other chapter was weary of them, or like, I don't remember if you said every single other chapter, but I said it, some of them at least were very worried about them. Alright, I'm back. I had to go take care of something real quick. But yeah, just a lot of mysterious shit going on here with this Alpha Legion here, and I don't know if we would ever really know unless it comes out later on with more lore. If anyone does kind of have a theory as to what their end goal is, because I mean, the way it was really being described and the way he put it with the 3 Hydra heads, I mean, which path are they taking, and are they even taking a path? You know, it's kind of these things that just makes the fact of Warhammer just insanely well as just story. And you know, I'm really hoping personally it keeps going on for quite some time. I mean, well before I'm gone and all that. But man, this is one of those where I'm just really curious to see kind of where this goes on. And I do know this is from over a year ago, and I'm pretty sure he's got some more videos on them, and I'm pretty sure other channels also have more videos. So this is definitely one of those I'm going to be coming back to as well. And also, just real quick, channel wide, I'm pretty sure I mentioned this at some point during the video, but just in case, I'll say it here as well, that I'm moving more into the Trader Space Marine chapters before moving on to the Imperial Guard, which my first one on that one is going to be the Krieg. I'm pretty sure you all know why. But that's going to go ahead and do it for this video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, really does help me a lot. Hit that dislike button if you didn't like it. It helps me improve the channel. If you're curious to see what's coming up next, check the description down below. You can see the list of about 5 videos. Top to bottom is going to be how I view them. But until then, I'll see you all in the next video. Bye.